What a roller coaster of a match between Wales and Japan. The final score might say 24-23 to Wales, but that single point doesn't even begin to tell the whole story. This game was absolutely packed with drama, controversy, and some fiery post-match comments that are setting the rugby world on fire. Let's break it all down. The match, held at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff, was meant to be a solid warm-up for Wales ahead of their big clash with New Zealand in the Autumn Nations series. But Japan, under the famously outspoken Eddie Jones, had other ideas. They came to play, and they pushed Wales to the absolute limit. In the end, it took a last-gasp penalty from Jarrod Evans to snatch the victory from the jaws of a potential upset. But the real talking point, the moment that is everyone debating, happened right on the stroke of halftime. Welsh wing Josh Adams was involved in a clear-out on Japan's wing. Kipai Ishida, the on-field referee, Matthew Carley from England, initially saw it as a yellow card offense. He gave Adams a yellow and sent him to the sin bin, but he also sent the decision upstairs for a bunker review. This is where the controversy really kicked in. The Foul Play Review Process Officer, or FRPO, Quinton Immelman, looked at the replays and decided to upgrade the yellow card to a 20-minute red card. Now, for those less familiar with the 20-minute red card, it's a trial law being used in some competitions. Unlike a traditional red card where the team plays a man down for the rest of the game, with a 20-minute read, the sanctioned player is off for 20 minutes and then another player can come on to replace them, bringing the team back to its full complement of 15. It's meant to punish the individual without completely crippling the team for the entire match. However, seeing it used in this instance has sparked a massive debate. Wales had to play the first 20 minutes of the second half with only 14 men, a huge disadvantage. Miraculously, they managed to not just survive but hang on for the win. After the match, Wales head coach, Steve Tandy, didn't hold back his feelings on the decision. He was very clear, stating, "I think it's a harsh red." Tandy acknowledged that players need to be more disciplined to avoid these situations in the first place. He said, "If you put yourself in a position like that, you're in the hands of the gods. We have to be better and not bring TMOs into play. Those are the things we can control." It's a fair point. Coaches always want their players to control the controllables and not leave their fate in the hands of the officials. But his core feeling was that the punishment simply didn't fit the crime. And here's where it gets really interesting. You might expect the opposing coach to be happy with a decision that gives their team a significant advantage, but not Eddie Jones. The Japan head coach was in complete agreement with Tandy about the red card for Adams. He thought it was the wrong call. But he didn't stop there. Jones was absolutely incensed about the officiating throughout the entire game, particularly the number of yellow cards, or sin bins, that were handed out. Japan themselves had 3 players sent to the sin bin during the match: Epinari Uliwividi, Falua Makisi, and Harry Hawkins. All 3 were for what the officials deemed dangerous tackles. Jones was fuming about this. He said, "It is almost farcical now, the sin bin situation. We are absolutely ruining the game of rugby." That is a massive statement from one of the most experienced and respected coaches in the world. He argued that none of the incidents, from either side, seemed intentional or reckless enough to warrant such severe sanctions. He went on to say, "I don't think any of the actions today were intentional and deserve to be sin-binned, Wales or us." Jones believes the game needs to find a more common-sense approach to officiating these contact situations. He made a crucial point, saying, "There are going to be contacts with the head. This is the heart of the issue for many fans and figures within the sport. Player safety is, without a doubt, the #1 priority. Nobody wants to see players getting injured, especially with the growing concerns around concussion. World Rugby has been working hard to legislate high tackles and dangerous clearouts out of the game. However, many feel the pendulum has swung too far. Rugby is an intensely physical, fast-paced collision sport. Sometimes, incidental or accidental contact is unavoidable. The challenge for officials is to distinguish between a truly reckless or malicious act and an unfortunate accident that happens in the split-second chaos of a match. Eddie Jones clearly feels the officials got that balance wrong in this game. He argued, "Unless it is reckless, which I didn't see any of those actions being reckless, I don't understand those sanctions. Of course, we have got to have penalties, but it needs to be looked at." Jones directed his plea directly at the sports governing body, World Rugby. He believes they need to take a serious look at how these laws are being applied. He pointed out the absurdity of the situation on the field, saying, "At one stage we were down to 13 men, they get a red card and they are down to 14 men. The game of rugby is about 15 players on the field, and I think World Rugby should be looking at this very closely. It is becoming absurd." His argument resonates with a lot of people. Fans pay good money to see the best players in the world compete in a 15-a-side contest. When cards, particularly yellow cards, are handed out frequently, it can turn the game into a disjointed, chaotic affair that is less about skill and strategy and more about which team can survive being a man or 2 down. It fundamentally changes the nature of the contest. Japan led several times during the game and came agonizingly close to securing a historic first-ever victory against Wales on Welsh soil. You could feel their frustration at the end. But Eddie Jones, being Eddie Jones, couldn't resist leaving with a classic, playful jibe aimed at the Welsh Rugby Union. After complaining about the spectacle, he said, "If I was a fan, I would be asking the Welsh Rugby Union for my money back." And then, with a twinkle in his eye, he added, "But they can't afford it, so they are not going to give it back." A classic bit of wit from a coach who is never afraid to speak his mind, and a little dig at the well-publicized financial challenges facing the WRU. So, where does this leave us? Wales got the win, but it was far from convincing. They head into the massive clash against the All Blacks with plenty of questions to answer about their performance, and now, the availability of a key player in Josh Adams, pending any further disciplinary review. They showed grit to win with 14 men, but they know they were lucky. For Japan, it's a case of what might have been. They played with incredible spirit and skill, and they can feel hard done by, not just by the final score, but by some of the officiating that went against them. But the biggest takeaway from this match isn't the final score. It's the huge debate it has reignited about the state of officiating in modern rugby. When two rival head coaches both come out and heavily criticize the refereeing and the rules themselves, it's a clear sign that something is wrong. The game is at a crossroads. How does it protect its players without sacrificing the very essence of what makes rugby such a compelling sport? Finding that balance is the single biggest challenge facing world rugby today. This match in Cardiff might just be the catalyst for some serious conversations at the highest levels of the sport. The Josh Adams red card, the flurry of yellows, and the passionate, unified outcry from both Steve Tandy and Eddie Jones have put the laws and their application under a microscope. And the whole rugby world will be watching to see what happens next. What do you guys think? Was the red card on Josh Adams harsh? Is Eddie Jones right that the sin bin situation is becoming a farce? Where do you stand on the balance between player safety and the flow of the game? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. It's a fascinating discussion, and I'd love to hear your take on it. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more rugby analysis and news, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next video. We'll be back soon to look ahead to that epic Wales versus New Zealand showdown. See you then.